This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. You know, I really thought that we hit rock bottom for awful predictions back in 2024. I thought after the Ann Seltzer debacle in Iowa, where the Ann Seltzer claimed that Trump was going to lose Iowa by like 3 points and he won it by 15 or whatever, I really thought that was rock bottom. That there's no way we could go even lower than Democrats magically flipping the state of Iowa or whatever, and he won it by 15 points. So let's be clear, there is a big difference between having a political and or electoral take that just doesn't age well and it's wrong. Like, yeah, in 2025, I thought that Chiarelli was going to lose in New Jersey, but not by 15 points or whatever. Well, he did lose by 15 or whatever it was. So yeah, I still thought he was going to lose, but not by the margin he did. Like, yeah, that was incorrect, but at the time, it was reasonable. It's not absolutely crazy. But there's a difference between that and that's just an example and crap like this. Listen, when I first saw this, when I first saw the post, I thought there's no way this is real. But no, I looked into it, and yeah, for those that don't know, Robert Barnes put out a brand new prediction for 2026, okay? And if I'm being completely honest here, this has to be one of the most insane, out of touch, just straight up batshit crazy predictions I have ever seen. Now, is it entirely possible that this ages perfectly and he actually is right about everything? Sure, that is entirely possible. I'm not denying that maybe in a crazy scenario, this does happen. But right now, this is his prediction, okay? And this is real, by the way. You can look it up right now. This post right here has a link, and Robert Barnes posted it, and he posted his official prediction, all right? So you can look at it right now. And this is a real prediction, not fake, not misleading. This is a real pick or a prediction that Barnes put out. And the reason I'm making a big deal about this is because Barnes used to be a respected person on the right. A lot of people listened to him, and he used to have some very good takes on a lot of issues. But lately, he's gone off the deep end completely. But now we officially hit rock bottom. I have no clue how you could go even lower than this. So let's just look at the Senate prediction. And yeah, this is his official prediction as of now. Now, he did not put out an official map. All he did was lay out his percentages for each state flipping or whatever. And I put together the map for both the House and the Senate. And right now, based on the current state of affairs, based on some primaries, he is saying that Democrats right now are expected, not in a best case scenario, no, they're currently expected to end up with 54 seats in the Senate. That is not a misquote or anything like that. You can look it up right now. Look at this. He put up these odds for these states. Michigan, a 95% chance of Democrats winning Michigan, 85% in Maine, 80% in North Carolina, 75% in Georgia, 65% in Ohio, 65% in Alaska, 60% in Iowa, Texas 50-50. But he adds that if Cornyn is the nominee, it goes up from 50-50 to a 65% chance. And same thing with South Carolina. If Graham is the nominee, which there's a 99.99% chance of that happening, Democrats have a 65% chance of winning South Carolina. They're the favorites. Not a possibility. No, they're just going to win it. Excuse me. What? You can't make this up. This is real. And that's the map. When you put together the odds and put on a map, this is the result. Look at this. Michigan, safe Democrat. New Hampshire, safe Democrat. Maine, borderline safe. North Carolina, borderline safe. Really? We're doing this shit again? And not from somebody on the left or whatever. This is somebody that used to be respected on the right. And he's pushing shit like this out constantly. Seriously, 54 seats in the Senate. And not just that, he is already saying it's a foregone conclusion that Murkowski is flipping parties. So now it's 55-45. I wish I was making this up. And by the way, Nebraska, it's leaning, borderline tilting Republican because of Dan Osborne, the independent or quote unquote independent. Really? This is insane. And the same thing for his House prediction. Look at this. He's claiming that Democrats are going to end up with 246 seats in the House and Republicans only 189. And he even said the Republicans are flipping only one seat in the House. Yeah, you heard that right. Not a couple from Texas, not even from Ohio, not anywhere, not Missouri even. He is saying only one seat in, I think, Texas's 32nd district or whatever. It's flipping. Outside of that, though, according to Barnes, you can look this up, nothing else is going to flip. Not in Missouri, not in Ohio, not in North Carolina, not in Florida, not anywhere. And in fact, I just realized I made a mistake. Yeah, Maine's second should be Democrat on this map. Yeah, you heard that right. Maine's second, even though Jared Golden is not running for re-election, the only Democrat that could win that seat, by the way, even though he's not running, or the one that's the best chance of winning, it's still Democrat. So actually, excuse the map here, it's actually wrong. It's actually 247 with only one seat flipping Republican. I can't make this up. He is actually saying that it's be such a big blue wave that redistricting in Texas doesn't matter. Doesn't matter in Missouri, doesn't matter in North Carolina, not anywhere. Wow. Just really? And you look at some of the seats that he has flipping. He has Arizona's first flipping. That's Eli Crane. That's like Trump plus 10. Well, Tennessee's fifth or whatever. Trump plus 15, it's flipping. North Carolina, it's flipping. Virginia, flipping. Pennsylvania, everything's flipping. Montana, every state is going to have a blue wave. And we're not talking about just an R plus 2 seat. Some of these districts are like R plus 10, R plus 15, R plus 20. And he is going around and pushing this shit out. It's just wild. We could go on and on about the House because, again, this is just absurd. There's some districts that should be Democrat on this map, but they're not for whatever reason. But still, Democrats end up with 247 seats. Seriously? Yeah, I was wrong. It's actually 247. Because Maine's second, that should be Democrat on this map. So, you know what? Let's go over the Senate. Because this one is much easier to explain because there are some egregious ones you could tell from a mile away. Okay, so let's just assume that all these states in blue, they're safe Democrat. No argument about it. We're not going to piss around and say, oh, like New Jersey's going to flip. No, it's not going to. Okay, without question, these states are Democrat. All right, let's be clear about that. They're going to vote Democrat. And these states are Republican. It does not matter what you say or do. These states, no matter how you try to spin it, are going to vote Republican. No matter what. And including Florida. I guess according to Barnes, Florida is just going to be R plus 20 now. But magically, Texas might flip. It just, whatever. So, according to Barnes, there are 11 seats that are toss-ups. You may notice a couple egregious ones. The most notable one is South Carolina. When I saw that, I thought I made a mistake. But no, read what he actually said. He gives South Carolina a 50-50 chance of flipping Democrat. But if Lindsey Graham is the nominee, again, the incumbent wins, it goes up to 65% for Democrats. Yeah, you heard that right. So Lindsey Graham wins his primary, and the chances of Democrats winning goes up. And actually, no, Democrats are the favorites. But if it's Lynch or Daines, actually Republicans are favored. I don't care what you think about Lindsey Graham. I have my issues with him. But you are batshit crazy to even suggest that Lindsey Graham is going to come close to losing South Carolina. May I remind everybody that 2008, Graham had a somewhat serious challenger. Yeah, he still won by 33 points, but as the incumbent, he still did not crack 70%. In the general, in a blue wave, mind you, that was 2008. That's when Obama won by a landslide. He still won by 15. And by the way, the Democrat he ran against was a conservative one. He was against immigration. He was to the right of Lindsey Graham. And he still won by 15. 2014, an even more competitive primary. Look at this. There were a bunch of major candidates that ran here. And Lindsey Graham barely got over 56% of the vote. Okay? He did awful for an incumbent. It was a very contested primary. He still won. He still got a majority. But yeah, he still underperformed big time as the incumbent. Well, he still won the general by 16. 2020. This is the best example, by the way. Lindsey Graham, he did not crack 70 again. So yeah, that is what? 3 straight primaries where Lindsey Graham can't even crack 70% of the vote. And he may do worse this time because you do got somewhat serious challengers. Fine, like Mark Lynch, whatever. That's one thing. But still, he did not crack 70% here. And Democrats spent over $130 million. That is not an exaggeration, by the way. In fact, a lot of people thought this is a 50-50 race. As late as November, there were polls that had Jamie Harrison winning and or Lindsey Graham barely winning by like 2 points. Yeah, Democrats spent $132 million on Harrison, and Republicans, they spent $102 million. Well, guess what? Lindsey Graham still won by over 10%. He did worse than Trump. Sure, that is true. But he still won by 10. You notice a pattern? He has had semi or actually serious primaries every single time. And he still wins by 10, 15, 15, 12 points every year. Of course, it's a little bit different this time because you do got somewhat serious challengers in Paul Dans and Mark Lynch. Fine. But difference is, Lindsey Graham is still going to be the nominee. And Democrats, they're not going to have a Harrison type that can raise $100 million. They may try, but that's not going to happen. So I don't care what you think about Graham. He's not losing. It's not even going to be close. So I'm just stunned that he was saying that Lindsey Graham is going to lose South Carolina. You're batshit crazy. I don't care what you think about Graham. I have my issues with him. He is still going to win. Like, what are you talking about? He's going to win by a big margin. So right there, without question, that like it's not going to flip. Iowa, another example. I seriously thought this was a joke because it's Iowa. Trump won the state by 13 points. But no, he's claiming it's going to flip Democrat because reasons. Because, oh, Ashley Hinson is a weak candidate and we're going to lose it unless my preferred candidate wins the primary. And that's his argument. That's literally it. Ashley Hinson is going to be the nominee. You may not like her, but she's going to win the primary by a huge margin. It's clear as day the party's behind her. She's going to win that primary by a big margin. So what's the argument? And Democrats, they really don't have a strong candidate, and really it's a two-way shitfest. It is a very competitive primary on the Democrat side. And that's going to hurt them. So I don't see how you could say Iowa flips. They don't have an electoral juggernaut. They don't have somebody that can raise 150 million. None of that. And that's another thing we're not even mentioning. Republicans have infinite money this year. They have Elon Musk backing them. They have Trump's groups already having $500 million in reserves. Democrats have nothing, but that's a different story. Either way, Iowa, how can that flip? Seriously. Nebraska, here we go again with Dan Osborne. Dan Osborne is that fake, quote unquote, independent running in Nebraska. And yes, he is a strong candidate. That's true. He lost by 7 points last year. That is 100% true. But at the same time, he still lost. And 90% of the time, candidates like Osborne, when they try to run again 2 years later, they tend to do worse no matter what. Sometimes they do buck the trend, but 90% of the time, retread candidates for the same race just 2 years after the fact tend to underperform big time. Now, will Osborne do good? Sure. He may still get it within 10 points. But right now, the only thing that he has going for him are these shit polls that he's pushing out. Yeah, for those that don't remember, back in 24, his campaign flooded Nebraska with a bunch of internal polls that had him tied or actually winning. And he did this constantly with like 20 different pollsters showing the same results. Oh, it's 50-50. He's doing the same thing all over again. And that's not going to work. It could be close, sure. But right now, I still have it rated safe. Like, without question, it's just not going to flip. There's like a 5% chance, sure. But outside of that, it's still going to vote Republican. And that alone are 3 states where you could just say, yeah, they should be safe, or maybe borderline safe in Nebraska's case. But South Carolina is going to vote Lindsey Graham. They're going to vote for him. Ashley Hinson is going to win Iowa. And we're not even talking about these other states. Like, New Hampshire's going to be very Democrat, sure. You got a Sununu running, which that does help Republicans a little bit. But still, fine, he may lose by a big margin, sure. But even then, how can you say Maine is a lock to flip? Susan Collins is a strong candidate, and Democrats have a shit shower primary there. It is a disaster. It's a mess. Again, we'll see what happens in Maine. You could argue maybe Collins may lose. Fine. But it's not borderline safe or whatever he claimed. And you can keep going. Ohio. Sherrod Brown, objectively speaking, is in a worse position because he's not the incumbent now. He's going against an incumbent who's ran in several statewide races, unlike Bernie Moreno. Bernie Moreno ran in nothing beforehand, and he still lost to him. And a bunch of these local groups that voted for and backed Brown last year or 2 years ago, they support John Husted. It is insane. Maybe it's close. It will be closer than the presidential race was. Fine. But to say that's like a lock to flip or a borderline lock, it's just crazy. So, yeah, you keep looking at the map. It's like, how can you come up with 54 seats right now? Could it change? Sure. But as of now, where are you getting this math from? What are you talking about? And you got states like Michigan. They have a competitive Democrat primary. Very competitive. It's a 3-way shitfest. Nobody's the clear front runner. Nobody wants to win the race. It's a mess. Texas, yes, you got Tel Rico, but even Ken Paxton, more than likely, would still win. It just keeps going on and on. Yes, other states like North Carolina and Georgia, they might be more friendly to Dems. Sure, fine, whatever. The point stands that to say Democrats have a 99% chance of taking the Senate and that, oh, Democrats are favored in all these states, including Iowa and South Carolina, that is insane. That is batshit crazy, but that's what he put out. So we'll see what happens, but right now, there is like maybe a 0.5% chance of this happening. It is crazy that we even have to discuss this, but sadly, we do. We have to talk about how crazy this really is. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.